Okay, so the next part is the installation of the calling it the electronic tower. How good is that? Okay, this has all of the equipment installed. Obviously here is the radio receiver. This is the Arduino sitting up the top, and this is the Adafruit gadget, which enables me to control multiple servos. So down the bottom here I've got the relay, which I turn off through the switch on the superstructure. But that's all good. Pretty happy with that. So I'm just going to put this in place. So the first thing that I need to do is to get the rudder wire, which is here. And this needs to hightail its way through the boat to the tower. The next thing I need to do is put these wires through, which take the power to the stern turrets. They connect through this end, so I will now just drop them through. Okay, they're through. Now I have to get these ones. These are the power and the motor, etc. And I need to run those through to the stern. This isn't quite as easy. Okay, so I'm going to thread these wires through here. Thread this. There they are, all through. So the first thing I'm going to do is connect the on-off switch to the blue wire here. So that's now going to be working. The second thing is to take the rudder wire. That goes on to channel 1. That's it. And then these are the wires that go to the speed controllers, the ESCs. Positive, positive, negative, negative, so that's good. So the ESCs are now powered. Now I'm going to connect power to the motors. I've only got one more wire in here, and that goes to the main battery. They don't disconnect. They don't interconnect. There's no problem with that. So here's the wiring tower still. The next thing to do is to connect all of the guns to the various components. Now, I'll start with the bow, which is gun A. Gun A has one that's marked, and this is elevation, and this one is traverse. So this one goes into the very first slot, and this one, which is elevation, goes into the second slot. What I'm going to do now is connect this B gun up. So B gun traverse goes onto the second connection. B gun elevation goes on to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th slot. Yeah. And now we have the stern guns, and this is the stern gun goes on to this one. This is stern gun elevation, goes on to slot number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, as per the Arduino instructions. Make sure that the positives and the negatives are all right. That's all okay. I think we're ready to rock and roll. So the next part of this is going to be a quick test. All right, I've connected everything up here, and everything's working. Need more throw on that rudder, but I can do that later. The switches for the, let me just do the bow. Yep, that's all working nicely. Yep. That's all working nicely. So the test is successful. Turn the power off. Now we tuck everything in. Everything's working there. So the next step is to cause this whole thing to submerge. Now in place, and I'm just going to screw that in. Okay, so the next part is to connect up the wires for the lights. I'm not going to do that this time. I can do that when I want to do that. But for now, I'm going to sink this into place. That's it, it's in place. Okay, there's a fair bit of playing that goes on here to try and get all of this nicely arranged. But once it's all in place and the boat's running, all you have to do is to take the LiPo out of here, plug it in, unplug it, and that requires lifting this off a little bit, but that's all there is to it. So I'm going to try the LiPo again. Now, they're all working. Lovely. Very happy with that. So we shall turn it off. Okay, that's in. Let's plug it in. So we're on the verge of getting ready to go down to the pond. So the next step is to pull this out slightly. Put on this deck. This requires 2 small screws. It's good to screw this deck on just in case the boat gets hit by something, because if this deck were to fly off, it's quite sealed when it's on, but if it were to fly off, this thing would sink just like it did a year ago. The last part is this. Not quite the last part. Is to put the stern mast and cover in place. I've left that till last because it tends to catch on my jumper, and when you're doing this sort of stuff all the time, it really makes a mess. So in order to get the boat ready, I just have to pull this off a little bit, unscrew that, take that out, put the lipo in, and all's good. Now I have to fix my boat, but everything else is good. Everything else is good, and if I want to run the lights, I just take this off, put the 9 volter under there, and they'll all flash to life.